Is back into it in Chester. Here's El Senior. Yes! Yes! The center back, Jacob Glesnes, is going for it. Yes! Oh my God! What a goal! And that will do it! One of the best comebacks in recent years. 3 unanswered by the Union. And they go into the Gold Cup break, winning it 3-2.
Hello, welcome to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd, and hopefully you guys have been enjoying these episodes with fellow Philadelphia Union fans talking about how they got into the team, talking about the offseason. And you guys thought this was going to be a quiet offseason where the Philadelphia Union only make one move, and it's only the loaning of Julian Carranza, but we've seen Casper get sold to Chicago. We see an upcoming striker coming to the Philadelphia Union, 2, actually, and we'll talk about both of those. Ray Gaddis, you guys have heard the episodes, but this is our first, and I am super excited to welcome on a whole family. Not 1, not 2, but 3. And maybe you guys have been paying attention on Twitter, maybe you guys haven't. But I am pleased to be joined by Billy, Tracey, and Twitter and Instagram superstar, the Lucky Baby. How are you guys doing?
We're good, Todd. How are you?
Pretty good, man. You said, nobody else is going to compare against you guys, and that's probably right. So, you guys will probably be the last podcast that I do, episode 154, I believe. So no more podcasts after that. But I did tell you, once you and Lucky Baby start your own podcast, I'm done. There should be one Philadelphia Union podcast, and that's yours. So whenever you guys decide to start that, everybody else just needs to stop. While he claps along, he says, yes, it's a great idea. I agree.
As soon as you can formulate sentences, man, it's on.
I always start my episode by asking, how'd you get into the Philadelphia Union? How'd you get into soccer? And I think I have a pretty good understanding, Billy, how you got in. But for people who are unaware of your story, how you got in, Tracey, feel free to say how Billy dragged you along, or maybe you drug him along. But go for it.
Like most people, my parents signed me up for soccer about 7, probably. I was too small for football. So soccer, they thought, was the safe sport. We know that's not necessarily true. But played for Longcrest, the neighborhood that we lived in, from probably 7 to 13, maybe, when we had to move. And the neighborhood that we moved in was like one of the club's rivals, and I refused to play for them. So I actually stopped playing for like a really long time. Then I went to charter school from 5th grade to 12th grade that didn't have any sports programs because it was brand new. And it wasn't until my senior year of high school that we actually got a team. And my coach was Brendan Sullivan, Quinn Sullivan's father. So that got me back into, just the love of the sport. That's when I started watching it. Turned on ESPN one day and watched Jens Lehmann save a PK against Villarreal in the Champions League. And I was like, okay, maybe that's the team that I'll watch. Never felt like super invested in, an English team that I can't see all the time and that I had no real connection to other than seeing them for the first time on TV. 2007, I found out that, MLS was actually kind of like a big deal. And I heard about, it was when New York rebranded to Red Bull. And I thought, I wonder if Philly has a team that I just didn't know about. So I Googled Philadelphia MLS and I found a big soccer thread for the Sons of Ben. This is 2007. I was 17 years old. And so I joined the Sons of Ben in 2017 and went on many trips and many events long before the team was there. We went up to, we went down to RFK for the 2008 MLS Cup, 2007 MLS Cup, where New England lost again to the Houston Dynamo. About 50 of us in, sky blue. And for some reason, the league decided to put us right in the middle of the red section. So that was fun. But then, 2008, the team was announced. And then 2010, I think I was like one of the first people to put down my deposit for tickets after the team was announced, and been following the team ever since.
Absolutely, man. So I got to ask you, you said that you played for Quinn's father. So who was the better soccer player at 17? We know Quinn's 17. Were you better, or is Quinn the better player?
Oh, Quinn by far. Yeah, by far. But if you ever get to ask his dad, he'll tell you what kind of I actually had to play left back for my high school team because we didn't have a left back. And so he put a converted basketball player at our right back who did pretty well, but he knew because I was more experienced and kind of ruthless that I would be all right on left back, and he'll tell you some stories.
Well, hopefully myself or other Union fans can track down his father in the stadium and get their stories. I will say, though, on record, that left back, in my opinion, is the hardest position to play in soccer. I mean, how many people are left-footed, and then just everybody wants attacking left backs now today, and yeah, we know how that is in MLS, where there's not many good left backs in the league. But Tracey, you can answer. If not, how did Billy get you into the Philadelphia Union?
Well, I guess that's a pretty easy answer. It's very much a part of his life. So if you're a part of Billy's life, then Union's going to be a part of yours as well. So I would say as soon as we started dating, as soon as we started dating, he would just bring me to games because that's what he did. So that's kind of how I got into it as well. I'm glad that he did, though. It's really awesome. I'm still definitely learning the sport. You can ask him. I'll ask him about what position players are in and who goes where and all that kind of stuff. But I actually really enjoy watching the game. I love the atmosphere, and it's really cool because you can kind of tell like the camaraderie that's there when you're in the stadium in between Union fans. And so it's been pretty cool. I guess Jeff is a longtime Union fan, is his godfather. So like
Not
stuff
my
like
godfather.
that. The baby's,
The baby's godfather.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that Jeff was your godfather, Billy.
Yeah.
The more you know.
I wanted it's pretty funny because Tracey's like a devout Catholic, and if anybody knows me knows that I'm probably the polar opposite. So I wanted, a nice balance for the baby's godfather, and I don't think there's anyone more perfectly balanced in those two worlds than Jeff.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, nobody comes more positive than him. I mean, I think he said, I've seen him on Twitter say he used to be negative, but I don't know. Since I've known Jeff, I've heard nothing but positive things out of his mouth. So I want to know, how does the Lucky Union baby feel about Fang? Does he like him? Does he hate him?
Oh, he loves Fang. Oh, yeah. We've got pictures with Fang. We high-five Fang. He's got a Fang that he sleeps with every night.
While he looks away.
He also loves throwing cookies,
Yeah,
which is what's happening right now.
animal crackers.
I was trying to figure out what that was.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and talk about your guys' adventure. I mean, it was awesome watching you guys take pictures on all your away trips that you guys went to. And there was one point where I believe it was in Orlando where you held Lucky Union Baby up as Simba. And the Union social media team posted that picture, I believe, on social media. Thought it was the greatest thing ever.
Not only did she post it, she made a fucking edit of it, too.
Absolutely. I mean, guys blew up. I think that's when the Stardom just took off. And I could be wrong, but I feel like once that moment happened, I feel like you made him an Instagram account, or maybe you did it before?
No, it did come after. It probably was a while after, because I did it one day just like at lunch, at work. I just made it, and I know I uploaded like a lot of photos, so I think we had already been back from Florida. It may have even been after DC, but yeah, that that picture and then the edit that followed definitely like really blew him up.
Absolutely. I'm looking at the Instagram you guys have at Union Lucky Baby. You went to Red Bull away. You went to Orlando, Miami, DC, Cincinnati, New York City. But why do we call him the Lucky Union Baby? 39 wins, 16 losses, 18 draws. I mean, you gotta like. I think you said he missed one game because of cold. Maybe it was 2 games.
Yeah. So he got a cold the same week that half the team came down with COVID.
No.
Not saying it's related, but
that's why we lost. He wasn't there.
That's what I'm going with.
So excited. Have to get Dupe in here. And one supporter show. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. Look, I mean,
no.
Got to see a trophy.
I mean, he's born on Jim Curtin's birthday too, right? Like you can't deny that all the Union success comes from him.
Absolutely. What about so last thing I'll ask about, just the away trips and everything is, so what made you guys decide, okay, we're going to go down to Orlando, we're going to go down to Miami in the middle of summer where, people are like, yeah, let's get away from Florida in the summertime. It's way too hot down here. But you guys are like, now let's go watch the team. And in my opinion, I feel like that was the worst stretch of the Union season to be losing to Miami up until the 85th minute. I believe Casper scored. I mean, it's a terrible stretch for you guys to watch them lose in Orlando and then potentially could have lost against Miami. But looked like you guys had a great time down there. And just what are your thoughts on that trip? Why did you guys decide, okay, we're going down here in the middle of the summer?
As you know, it was I think a Thursday and a Sunday, like practically a doubleheader. So you couldn't beat 2 games in 1 week in Florida. Orlando, we only spent 1 night on Orlando. We stayed in a swanky hotel, and man, Exploria is a beautiful stadium. Their supporters group was awesome. One gripe that I had with the stadium is they put us way up in the back corner on the other side of the stadium, but the lights all shined away from there. So we were standing pretty much in pitch black. It was really bizarre, but the stadium is beautiful. The little area that it's around, it's also next to their, can't remember the name of it, the sports center where they hold like concerts and stuff is like right next to it. And then it's got like a little like walkable bar and restaurant area right around it. It was incredible. It was like right in their downtown area. It was really nice. Then we drove down to Miami the next day. We spent the rest of the week down there. And I mean, you're not kidding. That was the worst stretch. Losing to Orlando was like, okay, Orlando usually starts pretty strong, but drawing Miami and, the infamous temper tantrum by Montero is like, it was just a terrible game.
Oh, it was. As soon as he gets substituted off, and then, I don't know, I feel like a day or so, maybe it was a couple of weeks afterwards, and you find out that, yeah, Jameer Montero, Kai Wagner, Ernst Tenner are into an altercation in the locker room, even though some people want to be in denial of that, but that's fine. We won't take any more shots on this podcast yet. But I just overall, what were your thoughts on the season? I mean, second place in the Eastern Conference. We reached the MLS Conference Finals against New York City. We went to the semifinals in CCL against Club America, tied for the second fewest goals in MLS with Colorado with 35. You see Casper win the Golden Boot, even though everybody says he's a terrible striker. It's our first time ever in this competition. Casper's first time ever in this competition. He's the leading goal scorer. And then I want to know, are you over the whole COVID situation against New York City? And like you said earlier, I mean, if Lucky Baby was there, we would have won. So,
yeah, I've been following this team since even before there was a team. So I've been through the worst of the years. And when we got the notification that even before the game ended that we had won the Supporters Shield, standing next to my wife and holding my son, I literally cried. And I didn't think that, I thought the only way that we could top that season was to win MLS Cup. But for me, 2021 topped 2020. I mean, you're right. First time ever in Champions League, and we made it to the semifinals, which, I mean, there have been other MLS teams that have gone further, but we really looked like we could have done it. And like everyone says, we were really just one piece away from actually probably winning it, And then, as everybody knows, teams that generally make it that far in the Champions League burn out in the league. And we were burning out. I mean, we were doing well in Champions League. We were not so hot in the season. And then once Champions League ended and they really turned it on, we finished second, and then made it to the Eastern Conference Final where we got, we did it to ourselves, but I feel like it topped 2020. So it's definitely a successful season for me. It was exciting to watch. Even the bad games, you could see that there was something there. They weren't executing it correctly, but you could see the ideas there. You could see what Jim and Ernst were trying to do. And then by the end, man, it was just firing on all cylinders. For me personally, I'm over the COVID thing. I think I was over it as soon as it happened. Like, what can we do? It's a global pandemic. People get COVID. You can't blame anyone. I've seen people say like, oh, they shouldn't have been partying. They just won a fucking second playoff game for the first time ever in our history. They only partied with each other. Like, what can you do? And then we had two players coming back from Africa where we know, it was breaking out, but we can't hate those guys for playing for their country. I think that's like the number one goal for professional players is to represent your country. Winning the league is cool and everything, but there's nothing like standing out there and, playing for your country. So you can't put that on either of them. If that was even the main source of the outbreak, nobody really knows for sure, but it was just a lot of factors that, no matter how careful you are, you can still get it. This is a serious thing that's happening. Like, I know people that have been super careful too and still get it. It's just the fact of the world that we're living in right now. But I was over it immediately. The game shouldn't have been postponed. There was no possible way. If you factor in TV deals and scheduling, MLS Cup was a week later. You couldn't push it anyway. I do think Don should have updated the protocols. Maybe we could have got a few players back sooner, but he's the boss.
He was a brave man for showing his face that day in Subaru Park, and especially going to the tailgate with the Sons of Ben. But
I heard he wasn't all that brave. I heard he was pretty shook up before actually arriving.
Oof. The Don Garber slander. It's okay. I might be here for it. Might not. Got to watch what I say. But but I got to say that those two playoff games, I agree with you. It was a successful season to see the team actually win two playoff games. I really thought even in 2019 we had a chance to go down to Atlanta and win a playoff game against them. We played good, just couldn't finish our chances in 2019. It sucked that Casper got hurt the final game of the regular season against New York City. I forget what he did to his foot. He might have hit it against a post or something. I don't know. And couldn't play in the playoffs. And we all know that Casper was
right?
something like that. We all know that Casper was the hot hand that we were riding going into the playoffs. And it was unfortunate that he got hurt. But, we still beat New York Red Bulls. And I thought nothing could top that moment. But then watching what we did against New York Red Bulls this season in the playoffs and then seeing the penalty shootout against Nashville. And I always say they miss the penalties, but not credit to Andre Blake for saving 3 of them. He read 4 out of the 5 penalties, and Nashville missed their last penalty. So, I don't know. I feel like as the playoff games went on, it just got more and more exciting. Even the loss against New York City, we score first in that game. And I've talked about that moment a couple times on the podcast where even before the game started, the fans were cheering when the players were warming up. And I've never seen that ever in Subaru Park. And I hope that fans can bring that same energy, that same passion this season into Subaru Park. But if anybody says that, they were disappointed in last season or they think that 2020 was better than 2021, I'll listen to the argument. But I don't know. Losing Brendan Aronson, Mark McKenzie for this season because we sold them, I was asking a lot for players to step up and fill in the holes that these two guys left. And it might have taken Daniel Gazdag until the second half of the season because, look, he was coming to a new league. He had a lot of minutes on his legs, and I've defended him multiple times on this podcast, and I'm not going to stop defending him. But I think Leon Flock and Gazdag were excellent signings to replace Brendan Aronson. To see Jack Elliott play as a left center back, even though he's not left-footed, him and Jacob Glesnes, in my opinion, were 2 of the best MLS center backs in MLS for last season. Definitely in the top 5. Whether or not you want to say they were the 2 best, you can make an argument for that. But I think people that are listening to the podcast from other states will probably say, "Oh, you're saying they're the two best because it's a Philadelphia Union podcast." But I don't think anybody can argue with me and say that they weren't top 5. But let's go ahead and talk about the news. There's a couple points I want to bring up. First, last episode there was a lot of Ray Gaddis slander. I don't know what you're going to give him, Billy. Are you going to be angry that Ray Gaddis came out of retirement, signed with Cincinnati? Are you going to understand the situation? I don't know what I'm going to get from you, so I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are on this, and Tracey's over there laughing, so I think she already knows what you're going to say.
I'm actually kind of in the middle. For most of Ray's career here, I had like a pretty decent like friendship with him. He always spotted me in the crowd. I would come over and say hi. He actually gave me a pair of his game worn cleats like pretty early on. I ran into him one time on South Street, man. He was just walking around with his head up, just looking at the architecture. He was just real. He's a real, fans player. And we've known that. And you could tell by his speech when we won the Shield, and then his farewell letter, so to speak, when he retired. But that is what kind of makes me angry about all of this. He spoke so much about how great it was to be a one-club player, and he spent his whole career here with us, and then he retired, and now he's coming back for, not just another MLS team, but the MLS team that seems to be poaching all of our staff and players. So, yeah, I'm definitely angry at Ray Gaddis for that. I wasn't mad at him for retiring, even though it was sudden, and I think I subscribe to your theory about maybe there was something else going on, but he retired. He's a professional athlete, and he's going to do what he wants to do with his life. I know he had just finished his master's, and he said, there was some family situations. So I was understanding with that, and I was cool. Ray Gaddis, league leading in team leading in games played, minutes played, tons of other categories that we may not see another player beat in a while. And I felt so much pride when he retired because, I've been watching the team since the beginning, and I watched that player from the beginning and, turn into the defender that he was. Because like you say, Ray didn't offer us a whole lot going forward, but you knew when a breakaway came, Ray was going to be the first person there to get it. And when we put everyone forward on a corner kick, Ray was the sole player in the back because you knew that he was going to catch that person. So just seeing the announcement of him coming back, and especially because there was not even a whisper or anything, like we all got hit with the official announcement, it hurt. It hurt a lot.
We all know Kacper Przybyłko traded to Chicago Fire for $1.1 million in GAM, which is set to be paid over 2 years. And look, I'm happy that the Philadelphia Union got something for Kacper Przybyłko. The one thing I'm not happy about is that we traded him in league because I know he's going to come back and hurt us. Look what CJ Sapong did to us down in Nashville, scored against us. I mean, it's the Union way. When we let players go, I feel like they come back and have their say on things. And Kacper did not seem like he wanted to leave the Philadelphia Union. It seemed like he wanted a guaranteed contract. Chicago Fire were offering him a 3-year contract, but nothing's been signed yet. I mean, he's still playing on his 1 year with the Philadelphia Union. Then he has the option for the 2023 season. But there's reports out there that Kacper and Chicago Fire are negotiating a contract, which if people paid attention to his interview that he did, he said that they offered him 3 years. So I don't see why that would change, that he wouldn't get the 3 years, because if he wouldn't get the 3 years, then I feel like he wouldn't have went to the Philadelphia Union and said, hey, look, accept this offer, let me go. But look, I know where Kacper is coming from. I understand because he just had a baby. He has one career. And so if a team's offering him a guaranteed contract where he doesn't have to fight year after year for an option, I get that. I take that too, even if my wife's from the Philadelphia area. One injury in Kacper, his career could be done. But if Chicago Fire are like, hey, man, look, if you get hurt, we're still going to keep you on this team because we believe in you. You've been the leading goal scorer for the Philadelphia Union the last 3 seasons you were there. You know how to score in MLS. And you and I have talked, and I've said it on this podcast before. I've said it on Twitter where, if we were going to bring in another striker, I wanted to sell Corey Burke. But his value is not what Kasper Schmelker's is. And I think a big part of that is Kasper has a green card, so he doesn't take up an international roster spot. But, sad to see Kasper go, one of the most likable guys on the team. I think all these fans are always like, oh, Kasper sucks, Kasper this, Kasper that. And you're always defending Kasper on social media, right? And I like to try to have Kasper's back on the podcast. But people say, oh, we don't have this striker, we don't have this. But if you look at it, 17 goals last season in all competitions for Kasper. Fans are asking for a 15-plus goal scorer a year. Kasper gave that in 2019 and gave that in 2021. The only season he didn't do it was in 2020 because he had COVID and because it was a shortened season. So I don't think Kasper was at his 100% playing capability. But if you look at the numbers, he was on pace to have, I think, 12 goals in a regular season and a 34 season. And look, that's all fans want is a goal scorer that can score 10-plus goals. I know everybody says 15-plus, but, Kasper leaves, goes to Chicago. Sad, and we'll talk about the player that's coming in to replace Kasper because I'm curious on your thoughts. But the whole situation, the way that Kasper did an interview and eventually got the move, what are your opinion on that whole situation?
It's another one that I'm kind of like torn on because with you, I totally see his side. He's been our leading goal scorer for all 3 seasons that he's been here. He constantly is producing, even if you want to talk about, how many chances he missed this season. And that's a valid discussion point, because if he didn't miss as many chances as he did, he could have had 15 in the season, 20, but you can't let that overshadow the fact that he put 12 away in the season and 5 in the Champions League to make him the Golden Boot winner. I mean, we're playing against the best teams in Mexico, and none of their players scored 5. So it's a situation, that I understand. This is a career for them, as much as it is a passion and a hobby for us, it's his career. And when, you feel like you don't have any stability in one job, you look for another one, and somebody comes offering you something and you go back to your employer and you say, hey, this is what they're offering, can you match it? Or I'm going to go there. And if they're not going to match it, then you have to go there. But I think that the Union should have offered him, maybe not 3 guaranteed, but you could have given him a 2+1 or something. Again, he's our leading goal scorer. You said many times on the podcast, he is the leading goal scorer over the last 3 years of all forwards in the league. And again, he missed a lot of games last year because of COVID and the shortened season, and missed a lot of chances this year, whether that was, still a fitness thing due to COVID or just a confidence thing. And Kasper, the kind of guy that, I think if we kept him and we paired him, especially with the 2 new guys that we're bringing in, could have had a revitalization next year. And I think Jim's the kind of coach that believes in that, because you see, he kept playing Kasper week after week. Even when he went, 5-6 games without scoring, Jim kept playing him because he knew the only way you give a guy his confidence back is to believe in him, and we all believed in him and Jim believed in him, but we don't run the team. We just support him. So I wish Kasper the best of luck in Chicago, and I'm going to support the next guy that takes his place.
Same here. Tracey, so CJ Sapong, Sebastian Letou, and Kasper Schmelker, I would say those are the 3 best strikers in the Philadelphia Union's history. No order. But you've seen a lot of bad strikers in your time with going to games with Billy. So what are your thoughts seeing the Union's one proven goal scorer in Kasper Schmelker getting traded away to Chicago?
Tracy's lucky. She's only been going to games since about 2018, so she doesn't know all of the bad strikers. The tail end of Sapong and the era of Kasper.
Oh, wow. So, okay, look, then I ask that question even better. Kasper's all you known, and now you see him go away. How's that make you feel?
I honestly, in the beginning when I started going to games with Billy, I really had no clue what exactly I was watching because I'm not really into sports. But as we kept going and he kept explaining stuff is when I started understanding. So Kasper is really the only striker that's in my mind that I'm remembering, as someone who is good. So yeah, of course it's sad to see someone go, especially if that's like the person that you're used to seeing. And so I guess I'm now learning what it's like to be a fan of a team and then see people come and go. So it is going to be sad, but just like Billy, we wish him the best of luck. And I think Billy already asked him not to score any goals against us when we play against them. So
did you get a response on that? Probably said I'll score 5 past them. I wouldn't put it past him.
No, he usually doesn't respond to comments in the sections. He just gives a like and he moves on.
Did he at least like it?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fully expecting a hat trick when we play Chicago from Casper.
100%. I think Casper has another Casper year. I think he's going to score 12 plus.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put it past him, right? He knows how to score in MLS. And the big thing is he needs players to create chances for him, because I don't think Casper's the best player at creating his own chances. But if he has players that are creative that give him chances, he'll put it in the back of the net. And what we saw earlier in the season, he's getting ball after ball from Baizo, from Kai Wagner. And I believe the first goal that Casper scored this season was a header against Saprissa down in Costa Rica, with Baizo putting in a cross, beautiful header. So as long as Casper gets the service, I don't see why he can't be a 10-plus goal scorer in MLS his next 3, 4, however many seasons it will be with Chicago Fire. But let's go ahead and move on to the Philadelphia Union, replacing Pat Noonan, who went over to coach FC Cincinnati, to promoting Ryan Richter out of the academy. You've seen Ryan Richter be announced in the 2011 MLS Super Draft, I believe it was, 5th overall pick. Never played for the Philadelphia Union, but I believe he played for Harrisburg, I want to say. So we never got to see him here in Philadelphia, but it didn't matter. He had a good career with Toronto and MLS. He went on to play in the USL Pro and NASL. And then after he was done playing, he came back into the Philadelphia Union system, not as a player, but as a coach, coaching the Union Academy's U15s, who he brought to the first ever MLS Next Cup final this past season after making it through 4 single elimination playoff matches. And then Richter served as the director of Philadelphia Union Junior Academy as a coach with the Union Academy U12s and U17. So to see Pat Noonan go, where I don't know how fans viewed Pat Noonan. I don't know if fans really realize how much Pat Noonan did. Did a lot. Leading training sessions, was in charge of tactics during games. And anytime a head coach says, hey, look, I'm going to trust my assistant coaches to make game-changing decisions, that tells you how much faith that the head coach has into his assistant managers. And to see them go in-house and hire Ryan Richter, what are your thoughts with this hiring of Ryan Richter?
So first, yeah, you're right. I don't think that most casual Union fans probably understood how important Pat Noonan was to the Union. We know Jim is definitely a player's coach. He's really good at building your confidence, learning your strengths and your weaknesses, and, building those kinds of relationships. But Pat was really the tactical guy. I remember, I think it was maybe one of the playoff games, and Jim said in one of his interviews that he was going to put Ilsinho on, and Pat had to talk him down. So, Pat was really the X's and O's kind of guy. And I don't know how much, people outside of like the serious, like stats guys like us would understand that. But Pat leaving is, we knew it was coming. I mean, I think Union was his 3rd assistant coaching job. He's from the Bruce Arena tree, I believe. Like, he was due his head job anytime. And 2020, we saw 8 teams without a coach, I believe. And so we knew he was going to get any one of them. And then when Cincinnati hired Chris Albright, it was in the books that he was going to take Pat, because we knew Jim wasn't leaving, even though he tried. What's the next best thing? Pat Noonan. So he deserves it. I expect Cincinnati to not finish last, maybe second to last, but, that's what I got to say about Pat. Ryan actually was drafted in the supplemental draft, which is the one that comes after the super draft for players that weren't drafted. He played for us in a friendly, I believe, that he scored in. And then, yes, had a stint with our partnered team, the Harrisburg City Islanders, and then Toronto and a few other teams. But I mean, everybody wants to talk about who has the best academy in the league. Is it Dallas? Is it Red Bull? Who other academy is producing coaches? Because we now have two. People don't remember Jim Curtin started with the toddlers in the Union Academy when he asked to be a player and the Union told him no. So he said, all right, I'll coach. He started with 2 and 3 year olds and he worked his way up to now the longest tenured and most winning Union head coach. And now we have an assistant coach that, worked his way up through the ranks of the academy too. So not only are we producing players that, are killing it in MLS and in Europe, but we also have coaches that can also coach in Europe too. We know Jim's going there any year now.
It's crazy to think that so many Cincinnati fans bought into the whole idea that Jim Curtin's going to become the next head coach, and ultimately the club blocked him from talking to Cincinnati, and that was the end of it. And the Philadelphia Union were well within their rights. Jim Curtin had a contract with the Philadelphia Union, and so why did there need to be anything else other than them telling Cincinnati, yeah, you can't speak to Jim Curtin, and Jim Curtin has to honor his contract. And look, wish Pat Noonan all the best. And Jim Curtin would have got traded, sold. I don't know. I guess traded technically to Cincinnati, maybe sold. I don't know. He wouldn't have been at Philadelphia Union if they would have allowed him to go to Cincinnati. I think Pat Noonan would have been a pretty good candidate to replace Jim Curtin, but maybe Ernst Tanner would have wanted to go out of the organization. And I'm looking at Ryan Richter right now. So he made his debut against Everton in a friendly. He scored his first goal against the Harrisburg City Islanders in 2011 on August 24th. So I would guess that was in a U.S. Open Cup game for sure. And never played for the Philadelphia Union in MLS. So thank you for that.
That Islanders game was probably a friendly too.
Okay, well, there we go.
We did a bunch of those back in the day.
Nothing official for Ryan Richter, but ended his playing career now as a coach with the Philadelphia Union. And I would say probably technically 3 coaches now the Union's academy have produced. I know Marlon LeBlanc spent most of his time coaching at West Virginia, but then when he left West Virginia, he became a academy coach. Then he went from academy coach to then coaching Union 2. So you could say 3 coaches to the academy now. So not only did the Philadelphia Union know how to produce players, they know how to produce coaches. But let's go ahead and talk about one bit of news. I'm glad that I went back in my email to find this because I didn't even put this into my notes. The Philadelphia Union didn't announce the player I wanted to announce on my birthday yesterday, but they did announce a player, and I didn't even know this guy shared the same birthday as me. So in case you missed it, the Philadelphia Union officially announced the signing of left back Anton Sorensen to a homegrown contract. He's a 19-year-old youth international. He joined the academy in 2019, and he becomes the 18th homegrown player in Union history. Anton joins the season on a 2.5-year contract with a club option for a 3rd and 4th year. If a lot of people are unfamiliar with Anton, he's a very, very, very promising left back who loves to attack. He can defend. And I think eventually when the Philadelphia Union sell Kai Wagner, I think Matt Real will probably take over for half a season. If Kai doesn't get sold this offseason, if he gets sold in the summertime, then Matt Real will play the rest of the season, in my opinion. But I wouldn't be surprised if Anton Sorensen's pushing Matt Real for some starting minutes if Kai Wagner is sold, because this guy, it was only a matter of time before this guy got a contract. He, by far, was the best player left in the academy that was able to get a homegrown contract. And we saw he got added to the roster last season because of the whole COVID situation. So everybody knew it was coming. It was just a matter of, okay, when are you going to announce it fully? He's eligible to play for the U.S. men's national team, Haiti's national team. He has options. And looking at what he did in 2019 when he joined the U17 squad, he played in the 2020 season with Union 2 in the USL, more than 1,000 minutes and 12 appearances. He had 11 starts. He scored his first professional goal for Union 2 on September 17th in a 4-0 victory over Loudoun United, who is DC United's second team. We've been asking for attacking fullbacks for a long time. Jordan Harvey, I feel like after Kai Wagner was our best left back, maybe you would say Ray Gaddis was a better left back than Jordan Harvey. But at least we know when Kai Wagner eventually gets sold, that we have a great talent in Anton Sorensen, and it's just a matter of when he gets opportunities to play. Hopefully we take our time like we did with Nate Harriel, and when he's called upon, hopefully Anton takes the most of his opportunities, but super excited to have Anton here, knowing that we have such a promising attacking left back when Kai Wagner is gone.
Yeah, I definitely that, like you said, Raul's probably just a placeholder until Anton's really ready. If Kai does go in the summer window, which I think is more likely than winter. I mean, it closes in how many days? 4 days. And from things that I've been told, it seems like he's not going anywhere right now. But the summer window is probably more likely because teams are going to be, wanting to pick guys up in their offseason to get started. And that'll give him, a better chance to play as well because he'll have a preseason with them. But I don't see Matt Real sticking around as a left back. I mean, we only saw him come in recent years as a midfielder. Can't remember the last time he's played left back even, and that was probably an emergency situation also. You said Anton's 19?
Yeah, he's 19.
Is that the oldest that we've signed a homegrown player? How old was Derek Jones when we signed him?
I will get back to that. It sounds about right, though.
Yeah, I think because normally they're 16, 17, 18. So he might be our oldest homegrown. Future looks good. We could have two outside back homegrown players with Anton and Nate.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm trying to look up to see how old Derek Jones was when he got an academy contract. Let's see. 2016, he got a contract with the Philadelphia Union, which was the fourth. Wow, it's so crazy. 2016. And the Philadelphia Union are on number 18 now in 2022. Tells you how good the academy is at producing players. And I'm trying to stall for time to do quick math. So he is 24 years old right now, 2016. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do math on the fly like that. So I'll say, yeah, Anton Sorensen's the oldest homegrown player, but 19 is not old at all. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, looking at all the homegrowns that got contracts last season, 17, 16 years old, 18 years old, and we saw how well those guys played. So maybe Anton, can surprise some Union fans this season when called upon and impress. I'm just really happy that the U.S. Open Cup's available this season because I think we'll definitely see Anton in that. I think Nate Harriel will get a lot of playing time in that, depending on how far we go in the competition. Stuart Finley will probably play a lot too, potentially Brandon Craig, even though I'm not too sure about that. Look, not having the U.S. Open Cup, I think, hurt a lot with players like Stuart Finley, like Paxton, Jack McGlynn, even though as the season went on, those guys started getting more and more minutes. But if they could have been playing from the get-go in the U.S. Open Cup, imagine how much better they could have been, how much earlier we could have used them when we needed a game changer off the bench. And to their credit, I mean, who expected them to play as much as they did near the stretch of the end of the season? To see Jack McGlynn take the kind of penalty he did against Nashville, to see Jack McGlynn said, yeah, I'll step up and take a penalty at the age of 18 years old. I mean, who does that? What 18-year-old says, yeah, I need to make this penalty, I'm going to step up and take it? I wouldn't have. I definitely know that. I mean, we produce good players, and yeah, I mean, what more can I say? The U.S. Open Cup's back. I think Anton's definitely going to get plenty of chances, and just super duper excited to see what the future holds for him with the Philadelphia Union. But let's go ahead and move on to the signing that's not official yet, but it's basically official. Mikal Orr, probably pronouncing that incorrectly. I think he's told me 2 syllables, so if you want to correct me, go ahead. But he is going to be joining the Philadelphia Union from Brøndby. Talked about this a little bit last episode. I know I said last episode that Danish papers were announcing a fee of $3 million with 800,000 incentives to push it to 3.8 million. But now the reports are coming out saying the Philadelphia Union are paying $2.8 million with a salary of $1.5 million. So either way, Mikal is going to become the most expensive player in Philadelphia Union history. 27-year-old striker, 14 goals and 26 appearances in the 21-22 season, 21 goals and 34 appearances last season. He was capped 1 time for the Danish national team. 34 matches played last season, 26 matches played this season. We beat out the likes of Norwich City, St. Etienne in France, a team from China, Saudi Arabia, And I believe I saw reports that a team in Italy was also tracking his signature. But at the end of the day, Philadelphia Union captured his signing. And I would say, for fans that want to find out more about Mikael Orr, Matt Ralph of the Brotherly Game and then Kevin Kincaid for It's Always Soccer in Philadelphia had two guys that cover Brøndby, that covered Mikael's career in Denmark. So if you guys want to find out more, both of those guys did a fantastic job with both of their guests and will tell you a lot more than what I just told you about Mikael Orr. That is for sure. But Billy, seeing the Philadelphia Union actually spend some money, how excited are you for that?
I'm so excited, especially with the departure of Casper. The Negadelphian in me thought, yeah, we got Julian Carranza on loan, and that might possibly be all that we have. We're going into the season with 3 strikers again. So it's still a little unbelievable knowing the way this team operates. But, in terms of DP strikers, 2.8 still not really on the high end. That's a good value for a good player, especially someone of his caliber. I mean, he was the Golden Boot in the Danish Superliga last year, and he's currently the Golden Boot this season. So he definitely could have went for a lot more money. So 2.8, I think, is a steal, and even 1.5 is kind of low on the salary ratings when we look at the way some players are coming in and what they're making now. So once again, Ernst, gets a lot of value for not a lot of money, and it ends up being our record signing, which is not surprising at all given our track record as well. But yeah, I'm really excited for this guy. I can't say that I know a lot about the Danish league, but I listened to both of the interviews this morning, and I've been watching his highlight videos, and he looks like he's got Casper's frame and he's good in the air, but he's got pace and he's, he really understands the game. I think one of my favorite goals that I watched him score, and it's on the beginning of the one highlight video that's going around, is he beats a keeper to a ball and they just collide. He puts everything on the line. He never turns away. He scores the goal and he's the one that walks away. The keeper did not get up. And that's the kind of player that we definitely support around here. You give everything for your team and the goal is to score. And that's what this guy does. There's multiple goals in that highlight video where he just reads the defense and he cuts through and steals a back pass like 2 or 3 times and scores. Like this, with Gazdag finally getting into form and Montero doing what Montero does, and the way Brujo can hit a diagonal ball, I mean, it's going to be a really good season.
That's what I'm looking forward to. Like listening to the Danish fans on Twitter saying, yeah, you just need to play long balls into this guy and he'll chase onto it. We know Jacob Lisness, Jack Elliott love playing those kind of balls. Like you just mentioned, Jose Martinez can ping those balls, which was the biggest question when we signed Jose. Who's going to replace the passing ability of Harris Medunjanin? And I think Jose's done a fantastic job with that. He's exceeded all my expectations. And I think, it would be a real shame if we lost Jose Martinez, but he's at a good enough level to play in Europe. And I know he's done interviews. I know he said on social media that he doesn't want to leave the Philadelphia Union. He's totally happy here. He loves them. You always see him pointing to the badge, kissing the badge after the game. And you're right. We want those kind of players with the Philadelphia Union. And to see Mikael Orr put his whole body on the line for that goal you just described, to see this guy have the pace, to see that when he first got the starting job 2 years ago with Brøndby, scored 14 goals. And then the season, not 14 goals. He scored 21 goals. And this season he has 14 goals. This guy is a late bloomer, like Kevin Kincaid's been saying. At 25 years old, that's when he got his starting position with Brøndby. Look, this is perfect. He's coming in at the perfect time, I believe, because he's in mid-season form already with Brøndby. Yeah, he's going to have to adjust to the way the Philadelphia Union want to play, but Brøndby, they play a pressing style already, and that's how the Philadelphia Union plays. So I think the only thing he'll have to adjust to is, the pressing cues. He'll have to adjust to the way that teams play defense in this league. But if you told me that he scores 15 plus goals this season, I wouldn't call you crazy. I don't know if he will score 15 plus goals this season. I think 10's a fair number to say because we saw what Hani Mukhtar did when he first joined Nashville from Brøndby. Took time to adjust to MLS, but I don't know. Listening to the guest on Kevin Kincaid's podcast said that Mikel Orr is way too good for MLS, that he thinks that he's easily going to score 15-plus goals. Makes me super excited for this signing. Then especially, like I said, I mean, to beat out teams in Europe for his signature doesn't get any better than that. You know, we're signing a new player. We've seen some players come and go. Who would you say Lucky Baby's favorite Philadelphia Union player is?
I think in the lead was Casper because he wears 23 and that's his birthday.
Ooh.
But
I hear him talking, so he's agreeing with you there, Billy.
Yeah.
Big Casper supporter.
COVID's kind of really restricted a lot of fan interaction, so it's hard to choose a favorite player when you don't get to talk to them a whole lot.
That's a good point.
I think we'll find out in the coming years who he likes.
Well, we know Fang is number one in his heart, but that's not a player.
That's
right. Oh man, Fang, Casper Shabelko. But before we end this podcast, there's one more player that the Philadelphia Union are linked with. That is Jose Riasco, who plays in Venezuela for Deportivo La Guaira. And there's reports out there that the Philadelphia Union would be paying a fee of $1 million for the 17-year-old striker who has 5 goals in 24 games this season. My friend Jordan Floyd, who has been on this podcast, I believe once, I've had him on prior to that when I was covering the English Premier League. But Jordan said that he's tall, strong, fast. There's plenty of variation to his goals. He's 6'2". But at 17 years old, to pay $1 million, who just started his senior career last season in Venezuela, that's a lot of money for a guy who's never left Venezuela on top of all that. But to hear that this guy is highly regarded in Venezuela, that, again, he fits the mold where we're looking at a tall target man. He has good hold-up play. He's fast. This could be a sneaky good signing for the Philadelphia Union. This would be the third Venezuelan on the Philadelphia Union's roster. And I don't know, I feel like once Ernst Tanner hit the nail with the signing of Jose Martinez, I feel like he's like, yeah, I got to keep scouting this market in Venezuela because there's obviously talent in there. We've seen other MLS teams sign players from Venezuela or Venezuelans maybe not playing in the league. But yeah, I mean, seeing that transfer fee of $1 million that's been reported, it's a lot of money for a 17-year-old, but I don't know, if anything, I think that tells me just how good this guy could potentially be. And yeah, maybe he doesn't start this season for Philadelphia Union. He'll probably play a lot for Union too. But to know that we have such a young player like this, where I talked about either the last podcast or the podcast before that, where my biggest issue with Union's academy is they can't produce strikers. Well, they went out and signed a 17-year-old, not a 27-year-old striker, not a 25-year-old striker like they usually do. A 17-year-old, like, it's a lot of risk with this signing. But hearing reports in Venezuela how good this guy is, how good he could potentially be, I don't know. Maybe he ends up being our Joseph Martinez. That's a lot of pressure to put on a 17-year-old, but you don't know.
Yeah, that is a lot of money for a 17-year-old, like you said, that just started his professional career, but if he's so highly regarded in Venezuela, it's not shocking because, you know, the South American market has been huge for the MLS. Some teams, you know, they try to hit Europe, but the teams that hit South America are usually the ones that win it. Joseph Martinez is the perfect example, especially for Venezuela. That Joseph Martinez and Jose Martinez, like, these guys play for their national team. These guys were, you know, nobodies, and now Jose Martinez is Atlanta. There's no Atlanta United without him. So I agree. I think this guy probably comes in, probably gets tested with Union 2, and then, you know, maybe he makes an appearance or gets a first team deal. There's no details on that yet, but if I'm not mistaken, I believe we don't have an open international spot right now, and the MLS Next Pro has no international rules, so we can just sign them up, train them up, and then bring them up.
Yeah, no, the whole like way that MLS Next Pro is like orchestrated, man, it's so confusing. with like all the rules and everything. Like Ernst Tanner and Jim Curtin don't even give us a straight answer, because I feel like just as us as fans are learning the rules for that league, I feel like they are as well. But yeah, I agree with you. And I was talking about the U.S. Open Cup earlier too. We could potentially see him play in the U.S. Open Cup this year too, because the Philadelphia Union are known for playing their younger players in the U.S. Open Cup, giving young homegrown academy players chances in the U.S. Open Cup with the first team. And it's worked out well for us in the future, and I don't see why it wouldn't work out well for us this season. But I'm excited. Ernst Tanner said, yeah, we'll definitely give you one striker this season, maybe even two. Well, what's better than two? 3 strikers. So I'm all here for it. Ernst Tanner listening to the fans, and I'll have more on Jose once it's announced. Jordan Floyd should be joining me to preview Jose, to give us more details on how he played in Venezuela, how a 17-year-old could move for that much money into MLS. So looking forward to that conversation with Jordan here, maybe in the next couple of days, next couple of weeks, whenever that deal is announced. But anything, Billy, that we didn't bring up that you want to bring up on the podcast?
No, I think that's pretty much, we talk about so much stuff in the DMs. I don't know what's left to say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Union Baby saying, I'm ready. Is that a drumstick? I think it's a drumstick. It looks like
it's a drumstick.
He's saying, Sons of Ben, let me be a drummer again. It was awesome when he got to do that. I don't know how many so excited. Doop, 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 doop. Smiling. He knows.
Doop, 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 doop.
Yes.
Doop, 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 doop.
Yes.
Doop, 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 doop. Doop, 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 doop. Doop, doop, doop.
That's right. Hopefully we get a couple doop doop doops on the home opener against Minnesota United. But Billy, you have a lot of social medias, and if people aren't following you yet, which they should be in my opinion, where can people find you on social media?
I'm not going to put my Twitter because everyone that's listening here probably either already follows me or already has me blocked. So follow the baby on Instagram, Union Lucky Baby. You can follow my memorabilia account on Instagram, Philadelphia Union Archive, where I post just stuff that I've been collecting since the beginning of the team. Game-worn jerseys, cleats, balls, posters, handouts, pretty much anything that's got the Union logo on it, I kept for a long time. So I'm slowly putting it up there.
But if you guys aren't following the podcast on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, follow @FreeKickPod, wherever you get your podcast, The Free Kick. And look, it's been a blast having you on the podcast. And like we said earlier, this is a preview for your podcast one day with you and the Lucky Baby. And I know that's going to be a blast. And it's when I have to say goodbye to everybody in Union Twitter and everybody that listens to the podcast. And man, he's so excited that he'll be the only Union. Doll Fang. There we go. Stuffed animal Fang. But yeah, he's excited that no other Union podcast will exist but your guys once you guys start that. And I can't wait for you guys to start your podcast and talk about Union games, have players, have coaches, have whoever on that podcast, because I know it's going to be a great podcast. And Billy, Tracey, Lucky Baby, thank you guys so much for joining the podcast. And yeah, I'll be honest, guys, I don't know what I have scheduled next. I know I have a couple other people who have asked to come on the podcast, but yeah, after Billy and the family came on the podcast, I didn't have anybody else scheduled because this is supposed to be the last podcast. So we'll find out who is appearing on the podcast next. But until then, my name is Todd, and this is the Free Kick Podcast.